Hi, I'm glad you're here to learn a little more about the ACMS system. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about transferring to a location without ACMS. ACMS is not in use in all countries around the world. For this reason, the system offers an option to receive and send transfers to locations that are not using ACMS. Starting this process is simple. Simply access the member menu and click on the transfer option. Here, you can see all the people who are in the transfer process and follow the process step by step. If you would like to receive a member who is coming from a location that does not use ACMS, click on the Start New Transfer button. The process will start by a search for the member's name, a standard step to make sure that the member isn't already in the system. Note, for a search of members in ACMS outside of your country, the system may require entering the correct date of birth due to privacy restrictions in some countries. When you enter the correct date of birth, the system can search for people in these countries. If you can't find anyone, it's probably because that member is in a country that is not using ACMS. In this case, click on I didn't find the member button. Choose the country of the church you want to request the transfer from. When selecting the country, the system will inform you if that country uses the ACMS system or not. If not, click on the Continue button. In this space, we will need to enter the details of the church outside of ACMS. Enter the city, church name, address, and email address of the clerk or pastor responsible for this outside church. It is important that the external church's email is correct, as it will be used as a means of communication between your church and the external church. When everything is filled in, proceed to the next step. Search for the member again, and if no one is found, click the Not Found button. Fill in a new form with the details of the member you will receive in your congregation, and at the end, click on the Include button. Now just click on the Start Transfer button and the process will start. Returning to the transfer screen, you will see that the transfers to locations without ACMS will be marked Non-ACMS. You will also see a new button, Communicate with Churches Without ACMS. That will only appear when your church has transfers to these locations. By clicking this button, you will see a list of all non-ACMS churches with transfers in progress with your church. Here, we have two possibilities to communicate with the external church: sending an email containing all the information to follow up on the transfer, or printing this letter, where you can send this document to the external church through another desired means. To proceed with our example, select the church and then click the Send by Email button. Now you will need to choose the language for the email text. If you are in doubt about the language of the external church, I recommend that you use the English option. Then click the Select button. At this point, ACMS will send an email with all the information that this church will need to vote on the transfer of members. For a complete understanding of this process, I will quickly show you what the outside ACMS church must do to continue this transfer. If you are using ACMS, don't worry about this step because it is exclusively the responsibility of the outside church. This will be the email that ACMS will send to the person in charge of the external church, providing the necessary information to proceed with the transfer. See that the email appears in the language chosen in the previous step. In the email, they will be informed that there are members in transfer to their church and that they should register the sending vote through the link that will appear in the body of the email. Then, the external church that received this email must click on the link so that the sending vote can be registered. To prevent this link from being shared with others, ACMS creates an authentication code so that only the person who received this email can access the details of this transfer. The external church must enter this code, which is sent by email, in order to have access to this transfer. Once this is done, the external church can either approve or deny this transfer. When it approves, it will be necessary to provide the date, vote, and the name of the secretary of the church to continue this transfer. After the external church has sent the transfer, you who use ACMS will see in the details of this transfer the date and the vote that were provided by this church. With this, you can now follow up and register the receiving vote in your church. The process of receiving a member from a location without ACMS has been completed in a simple and fast way, and this person will now appear in your church's member list. Now, if you want to send a member from your church to another congregation that does not use ACMS, the process is very similar, except that instead of clicking on the New Transfer option, you will need to click on the Send to Non-ACMS Locations button. Choose the country you want to send to, and the system will inform you whether or not this location uses the ACMS system. If not, fill in the data of the external church. Enter the city name, church address, and the email address of the person in charge of the external church. Now that we have the external church's information, search for the member of your church that you wish to send. When the member has been found, select the desired member and click on the Start Transfer button. Once this is done, the process is started and the member will appear in the list of members to transfer. Once your church has voted to send this member, you will need to record that vote in the system by clicking on the Send button and fill in the date and vote for the transfer. In the transfer details, you will now see only the receiving vote remains to be recorded in the external church. And to get that information, the system will give you the same options presented from the previous process. Just click on the Communicate with Churches Without ACMS button and choose the desired option. If you choose email, the external church will be able to report the vote of the member's receipt. Once that vote is recorded, you will be notified and the transfer process will be finalized. When you search for this individual in your church, you will see that this individual is recorded as being inactive because of the outgoing transfer. This concludes our tutorial on how to transfer members easily and quickly to locations that are not using ACMS.